What's up, guy? What is up, guy? Welcome back to Josue. How's it saying?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
If you're new here, I am Josue, and this is what I have to say. Today's episode is about a topic that, if you live in Miami, you're probably familiar with at this point. And it's a proposal that went to the city of Miami for housing homeless people within Virginia Key. Now, this presents a myriad of problems, not only to the Key, but for the homeless people themselves. And to help me out with this topic, we got Esther and Diana, who both work for Virginia Key.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I think she owns it.
Yeah.
Do you own Virginia Key?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Well, not the island. I own Virginia Key Outdoor Center.
Some people say the island, though.
I was about to say.
No. The island is a public park.
Okay.
So who owns it?
Wink.
Oh, no. But that actually matters. You know who owns the island?
Who?
The people of Miami.
Absolutely.
Retweet.
Yeah.
Which is going to be the emphasis of this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Esther and Diana, tell me a little bit about you guys, what you guys do for the park, how you your history, your background on it, how you came about,
Oh, okay. So
This is a long story. Is it?
Oh,
it could be. I'm pretty old.
We got 58 minutes to kill, so let's go.
So I spent most of my career in the legal field as a non-attorney administrator and a paralegal, not an attorney, and I was always, I grew up here. Miami's been home since I was 5 years old. I'm Cuban born. We immigrated here in the early 70s, and this is really all I know. Grew up on the water. Grew up on Virginia Key, on Key Biscayne, going out to Crandon, and really more Bill Bags, which we called it Farito back then.
El Farido, of course.
Yeah.
Every Cuban knows El Farido.
Farito, we go out there as kids, and you had the Australian pines with those tiny little pine cones that would like stick in your feet, and you'd be running around going, ah.
Yeah, my people are like, they're putting homeless people in El Farito, because I'm from Hialeah.
I'm from Hialeah, too.
Yeah, and they're like,
Let's go, baby.
yeah. Hey, birds of a feather flock together.
I see that.
But everybody was like, en El Farito. I'm like, no, bro. El Farito's the next island over. We're talking about the island right between downtown Miami and Key Biscayne.
North, right? North Virginia Key. What's it called?
North Point.
North
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah,
is what it's called.
so Virginia Key, North Point. So when you come in from the mainland on the Rickenbacker Causeway, you go past the Toll Plaza, and then there's a small kind of spoil island that has what we lovingly call Santeria Beach on the left, which is where the last, listen, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then on the right is the Old Dog Beach. So then you go over the big bridge, the Powell Bridge, and you've got the Rickenbacker Marina, Rusty Pelican, the City Marina, the Marine Stadium. On the right, you've got the county beaches, Hobie Beach. And then as you continue, you go past Mast Academy, then you hit Arthur Lamb Jr. Road, and that's the road into our park, Virginia Key Beach, North Point Park. You keep going. On the right-hand side, you've got the Sequarium. On the left-hand side, you've got the historic Virginia Key Beach Park just before the small Bearcut Bridge. The University of Miami's there. NOAA fisheries are there. NOAA research centers are there. So there's a lot going on. As you go into Virginia Key North Point, through Arthur Lamb Jr. Road, it's a good 2 miles before you get to where we are.
And we've been there for like 5 years.
Well, more
Right?
7.
Well, yeah. Since I think 2015, that's where.
2015.
So you started working for the center.
Oh, I opened the center.
You opened the center. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about that background.
It went out for bid with the city. We went in and established an outdoor recreational support facility, which means that we offer kayaks, paddle boards, bikes. We do education. We have children's programs. Early on, we found that the condition of the area was so poor that cleanups became vital. When it rained, I would always say that the ground would bleed glass because Jimbo's used to be there.
What's a Jimbo?
Jimbo's was an old dive bar, which in its day was like people my age. It's true. And Billy Corbin's age. This is where we would go in high school and, we could get beer and,
Okay.
and other stuff.
Okay.
They had like little huts and little houses. They had like a rundown school bus and all that. And people
That
would live
sounds
there.
cool, man.
Yeah, well, I always describe Jimbo's as everything people imagine the Keys were, but never really were. It was that place that sort of existed between legal and illegal, passing back and forth.
Oh man, you're giving me FOMO. Like I want to experience this now.
Like,
yeah,
he was
but
there.
and it was like a really cool place for a long time. And then Fisher Island was being built. and the workers were drinking on the bar at the island. And the way the story is told to me is that the folks at Fisher Island didn't want them drinking there, so they got Jimbo's a beer and wine license so he could sell alcohol. When that started, everything changed.
He was there based off a handshake, too. There was, like, nothing legal from what I was told.
Well, that's how everything in Miami is.
Yeah.
Huh?
Not exactly. So he had his fishing fleet over where the old Herald building used to be, right downtown.
Oh, yeah.
That got torn down, maybe 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah, recently.
And he got displaced for that building going up, and they threw him out to the Netherlands of Virginia Keys, North Point. But it's this beautiful lagoon, Lamar Lake, and he was there for a long time with his shrimping boats. Jimbo Lusner made the best smoked fish I have ever had in my life. And my second husband was in the fishing industry, so I've had some good smoked fish. But Jimbo's was, a place of legend, and after almost 50 years, he passed away a couple of years ago. I had the opportunity to meet one of his daughters and some of his grandchildren at the facility, and it was a really meaningful meeting, and very, it gave me insight into something that I had only seen as a visitor. But at the end, he had 4 kids. 2 of them were, up and up, and the other 2, maybe not so much. One of them had substance issues, from what I understand. And it became a place of squalor. The place at the end, I'm not a dainty girl. I'm a paddler. I like kayaking. I like paddleboarding. But my favorite form of kayaking is off-trail backcountry. So it's me and a bunch of bearded old guys going out into the Everglades, and I love that stuff.
Yeah,
Hunting
she's not
for pythons out there?
Yeah, she's not
Yeah,
some
I
random
do that.
lady.
I do python captures too. Seriously.
It's fucking wild.
She's not some random lady that decided to open up a kayak shop.
So that's where I was going
Yeah.
to go with this. How did you get involved with opening up the center?
So I wanted a place that, that could serve to, we had all these city people had that same reaction you just had. And I was like, this isn't really that wild. This is like our backyard, and there are these amazing things that we can experience. And Virginia Key was the opportunity to help people from the city move into the outdoors in a place that was really pretty managed. We have flat water in the lagoon, so even if it's windy out, it's like the place where folks can go and hang out, and they do. But it wasn't welcoming, because during the time of Jimbo's, and towards the end, it was alcohol, it was drugs, it was prostitutes. I'm told that when they went to tear the place down, they had to leave and come back with the protective suits, because the flea infestation from the animals was so bad that they were getting swarmed. He developed Alzheimer's later in life and passed away. I think 2-3 years ago he passed away. And it's sad that someone's legacy gets diluted in that way. We wanted to do a like a shack, at least in memory of him, because he was a key player there. But anyways, I went off topic because you had asked when Fisher Island got him a license and people started drinking, and what his daughter said was that he always regretted that because he lost his best friend. And I asked her to explain, and she said, well, he was drunk, the friend, and they were arguing, and he took a swing at him near the boat ramp, and he fell and broke his arm and sued him.
Yeah,
And that was the end. No, the friend sued him.
Oh.
The drunk friend that took a swing at him sued him.
Oh,
That's
shit.
so Miami, though. To be honest, that's so Miami.
Sadly, that's true. But it was the end of a friendship, of a lifelong friendship.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a shitty way to...
And she was saying that, she says, we grew up here as kids. We'd have a houseboat out here or a boat out here, and we'd spend the summer. And I was thinking, man, I remember as a kid, I used to come out here, and we used to catch shrimp by hand. There's 2 good shrimp runs that still take place in the area. The lobstering is still pretty decent. We do programs with kids, so we take them out and we snorkel with them. And we've gone out and caught lobster during mini season. We teach them how to clean them. We do fishing programs. Some are paid and some are free because we're in this public park and this public space. And for me, it was really important to maintain that public access. And we've done that.
It's for the people.
It's for the people. People that come here aren't, this isn't like a resort for the rich. This is a working man's resort. And we've met some amazing folks over the years. And we've had some amazing experiences. We've seen the area rebound. The last time I went to Jimbo's, I took some friends. We had been kayaking. And we were going to go over to have a few beers and some smoked fish. And that was 2.5 years before they closed. And I tell this story often. there was a jaundiced-looking gentleman trying to help us. And I'm like, wow, is that liver failure or...
Are you a Simpsons character?
Or, whoa, I mean, the guy was yellow.
Yikes.
His eyeballs were yellow. Everything was yellow. And he's like trying to be friendly and offer us stuff while there's people sort of drooling on themselves on these ratty-ass couches laying out. And he's like, here, have a beer. And he sticks his hand in the cooler and he pulls up this bottle of beer. And there's slime that just kind of drips off. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass. Thanks. And we're going to go somewhere else. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And when I look in the cooler, there was like rotting bait and whatever, maybe rotting smoked fish. They weren't making it anymore. And you know, soon after that, there were problems with drugs, with violence, and the city looked to shut them down. There was a fire for code violation. They ran a wire to an electric transformer. You know, so like wild.
That sounds very Miami.
Yeah, and in the end, it was gone, and now it's this place where thousands of people come. We got kids, families, young people, old people.
So what are some of the services, again, that you guys offer there?
We do kayak, paddleboard rentals for the water sports side. We have a few canoes that we do for, kids events and things like that. It's not really a canoeing area. We do bicycle rentals for the mountain bike trails. We do kids programs, summer camp, days off camp, nature exploration. In the winter season, there have always been manatees in the area, but not like there are now. The one thing that happened as soon as the squalor ended is that the lagoon started rebounding. And we started doing cleanups in the area, removing the glass. There was, at the end of the channel, there was a spot where people over the years had taken to, and please explain to me why anyone thinks it's so wonderfully hilarious to break a bottle and be like, yeah, look, I broke a bottle.
Just drunk, dumb people shit.
Yeah. Yeah, but there was a stack, and we did it with a group of veterans that were... It was a support group for veterans suffering from PTSD that would come out through the VA. And these guys, by hand, took out, and it took them months, they took out this stack of glass, broken glass, that had to be at least 3.5 feet tall. I'd say at least 4 feet deep, and maybe about 5 feet wide. So this is years worth of broken bottles just stacking up.
The area has changed a lot.
It really has.
We do monthly cleanups, and sometimes we get private groups that come out and help out. As she mentioned, we have a very thriving kids program.
Oh, yeah.
We have kids that come back just because they're having the best time of their life, and they bring out their parents, and they want to show their parents what they did over the summer.
So essentially what you guys have done is take an area that was run down, gone to shit, environment needed heavy rehabilitation, put in heavy work, rehabilitated the environment and the area, and given it back to the Miamians, to the city.
Yeah, but in all honesty, we are only a part of that equation because that island exists today because of the work of volunteers.
So the mountain bike club is there, the Virginia Key Bicycle Club, and that club is run by Frenchie, John Voss, and the others in the board. And Frenchie always makes it a point to say that they have the most recorded volunteer hours than any national park in the United States.
Wow.
That's a lot.
I'm actually having a guy on my podcast, probably maybe you know him, on next Tuesday, Andrew Aldasso, that he's cleaned up a bunch of tons and tons of trash.
Andrew treks North Point Park. Most of the videos that you have seen of Andrew have been at the North Point. He goes through the mangroves and all that.
Yeah, he's done some great work.
Yeah, so the area back there is a Zadowski Critical Wildlife Area, which is actually a no-entry zone.
Well, somebody's got to clean it, though.
Yeah, but you need a permit to go in there.
We've reached out to FWC.
I cannot legally go in there.
We've reached out to FWC, and it's nah.
It's a big process. It's not...
We're not allowed to kayak in there. We're not allowed to bring boats in there. So everything has to be done
it's a
some way,
area.
somehow. Yeah.
Well, going back to the topic at hand, then, we kind of know now a little bit of the history of Key Biscayne and Virginia Key.
It's okay. That's the island to the south.
It happens a lot. A lot of people are like, I'm at Key Biscayne, and they're right in front of us.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
It's not a bad thing, but it's just not the same place.
Nothing against Key Biscayne. They've been very vocal on protecting the island. So their help is greatly appreciated, too.
No, that's important. So this proposal that has now been approved, right?
Correct.
How did this? I was reading up on it, and it wasn't even supposed to be in the commission that day, and then it just came about.
Well, no, it was listed as a discussion item.
Right, there you go.
and it was kind of vague. It just said homeless transition zone, and it didn't have any specification.
It didn't even have the PowerPoint that was presented
Yeah.
to the commissioners on file.
Yeah. So I had hired a lobbyist because we knew something was going on, but we didn't know what. And we were trying to find out what was happening. And there are all sorts of crazy stories. Everything from somebody wants to put in a water park and build an Olympic aquatic facility. And some guy actually had shown up asking about the aquatics RFP, the request for proposals that was going to come out this fall. And we're like,
We're like, what are you talking about?
who would put an aquatics RFP out for a facility at a lagoon where you have wildlife that comes through? I mean, you got to understand something. Manatees, yeah, super fantastic, but it's illegal to swim with them. But we also get sharks to come through. We get bull sharks, nurse sharks, hammerheads during the season. We get tarpon that come in here and there. I've had redfish tailing through on the tides. There's a lot of fish in there. And we have crocodiles. You know, do you have to worry if you're kayaking? No, and we tell the kids. You know, it's like, imagine that you're in your backyard, and you're playing with your brother or sister, and a giant alien spaceship comes above you. And they come down and they start pointing at you and going, ooh, ah. What are your parents going to do? They're like, they're going to kill him. I'm like, that's right. Yeah. So guess what? That crocodile's mom's going to do the same thing. Leave it alone.
So we learned about this like very late Tuesday night. And then quickly...
Tuesday night.
Yeah, last Tuesday. So
it was after Thursday. We learned about it Tuesday.
Yeah, so we quickly got together and we're like, oh, crap. Like,
we
have to go. So we went to the commission meeting that was held on Thursday.
We shared it.
Yeah, we shared it around. We shared the PowerPoint around. We went to the commission meeting at 9 a.m. We were there from 9 a.m. We even participated in public comment. Since it was a discussion item, there was no public comment to be made, but we did it anyways.
Well, yeah, they took it.
Yeah, they took our public comments. So we were there from 9 to 6. At 6 p.m.-ish, they discussed the item. Alex de la Portilla goes on a 10-minute, tangent on like why this is not a good idea.
Oh no, he was right. He was analyzing, and this is something I said early on. He was commenting as to the analysis in presenting the sites. He's like, these are.
Yeah, he asked like, who did you speak to?
Who comes up with this? Who did you talk to? Did you look at the area? My question was, did you visit the areas? Because I'm thinking, why on earth would you call Virginia Key North Point an optimal location? You're like in the middle of nowhere.
So who came up with this proposal?
So it was a gentleman by the last name of Poro, who's human relations, I believe, for the city. Yeah. Which brings me to another question. What experience or foundation does a human relations department have to do with a homeless program? I mean, did you task someone with something that they don't have the skill set to really analyze?
That sounds like what that is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we still don't know. But they discussed the item. He basically tells the guy, like, I don't know why you're presenting this to us so late, like last moment, and we don't know. You didn't ask anybody. So they end up voting no. Manolo Reyes votes no. Ken Russell votes no. And Alex de la Portilla votes no. Joe Carollo votes yes. And Christine King votes yes. And
she votes yes, saying, she made a comment at one of the speakers from Key Biscayne, who until recently, I resigned from the Virginia Key Advisory Board just this week. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't feel that the city of Miami was listening or even presenting anything. This item never came before the advisory board. Our chair, who's also running for Key Biscayne Mayor, Joe Rasco, went in and spoke about the master plan for the island, which has existed since 2010. And this came through as a charrette, so it was like community meetings left and right, very heated. And this is general plan on what to do with the entire island. And then you bring something in that, it called for a campground at North Point, but this is ridiculous. This isn't it.
Yeah. Yes, it's not. This ain't it, fam.
No, but... he brought up the point that this wasn't part of the master plan, and she seemed to get offended and said there is no plan for homelessness. And I thought to myself, she's right. But there should be a master plan on how to deal with it, because this is a growing crisis in our community, not just in her district, in all of the districts. And, she brought up she didn't want that in her district, and I can understand it. She has one of the poorest districts in Miami. And no, she shouldn't have her residents in her district, which are residents of the city of Miami, having to deal with an unfair burden. But I didn't know enough about homelessness or chronic specifically, because this isn't just homeless people. This isn't someone who just lost their apartment because rents were, sky high. This was defined as a place for the chronically shelter-resistant homeless population. So,
Which means?
We're talking about the poorest of the poor, people that are primarily dual diagnosed, meaning that they have mental health and substance issues. And, people say, oh, which one came because they were drug addicts first and then they became, it doesn't matter. The reality is this is the reality that these folks exist in today. And I told Diana, and I said, we need to learn more about this, because I can talk about why it's a bad place to put them on Virginia Key, but I can understand why Commissioner King didn't want this in her district. And Carollo was right. No one wants it in their district. It's probably true.
Yeah, we never claimed to be like homeless advocate experts.
But what we did was on Sunday, we spent the day at Greenhaven Project in Overtown. The two gentlemen that started that program, David and Jorge, they're both pretty far left, but they got great hearts. They care about their community. And about 2 weeks ago, they had, it's an area that's getting gentrified. So it's a very low-income area, and the surrounding buildings have been sold off and bought by developers. So the neighborhood is shrinking, and they have a food garden, by the way. So that's where they grow food, and
that's
and
awesome.
They give it out to the neighborhood, and people come in and volunteer, and they pick up, and so we've taken volunteers there before, and they had this shooting. As David describes it, he says there were two groups of men fighting over a piece of land neither one of them owned, and when I saw the guns, we hit our volunteers, and I called the cops. And then the shootout went on for a minute and a half.
And the police showed up maybe
about 10 minutes later, the police showed up, which he questioned because he said, oh, they're down the street. But, I don't, whatever, they showed up. He a few days later, at some point later, a homicide investigator approached him.
But the homicide investigator doesn't go and ask the residents. They go to him.
Well, no, they said that the homicide investigator said the residents weren't cooperating. And he wasn't really, he wasn't having it. Mm-hmm. He was like, you got to go talk to everyone. You can't just talk to a few people and give up. I don't know the specifics of it, but he did what he referred to as a call to action, and it was that Sunday. And he said, why don't you come out? And I said, all right, how can I help? What can I do? That was so cliche. But I did say, how can I help? I'm sorry, it sounds horrible.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like,
So, it was very interesting because we were kind of like flies on the wall. We were there to observe, and at least I could say, speaking on my behalf, I wanted to act more as a fly on the wall because I wanted to see. I didn't want to overstep or anything like that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I don't live there. I don't know who these people are. I'm just here trying to help to the best of my capacity.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah. And quite frankly, it was very disappointing to see that we're in the richest country in the world. We're in a city that they're making millions of dollars off crypto, NFTs, whatever you're into. And you got people living like this, living in areas where, honestly, it's not okay. You have a little boy who was playing Fortnite, and he had to dodge bullets.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Yeah, they're still buried in his wall.
Yeah. The police never came to claim it.
What a bright young man. I mean, he's like this good-looking kid. He's like, you could put him on your interview right now, and you'd probably fill an hour with him. I mean, and he had to hide from bullets. He shouldn't have to.
So this is happening in our city. So we have a lot of problems in the city. So homelessness is part of it.
What did you guys learn in terms of the homeless population? Well,
I learned a few things. First of all, I learned that there's so many grassroots groups that are there to help, because this was a call to, I didn't know what I was walking into. And when I got there and he says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to go door to door. And I'm thinking, okay, door to door. But I didn't know exactly what he had planned.
Door to who?
To the residents.
People that live there. Mm-hmm. So we had organizations such as like the Miami Recovery Project, Black Collective show up, and they were there to offer their resources to the best that they possibly can.
It was amazing. You had everyone from the Muslim Brotherhood to LGBTQ groups, to Black Men Build, who were sort of they were more, our women are equal, and we're here because this is a problem. You know, the guy spoke beautifully. He said, this is a problem. These were brothers fighting. These weren't sisters.
Honestly, it was very touching.
And it was
Very,
amazing
very
to see all these different groups come together. There were groups there that could provide housing assistance, rent assistance, utilities, food, clothing, furniture, whatever you needed. There was support groups for kids that were dealing with violence or that had been exposed to, you know, traumatic situations.
Do you remember that girl that we spoke to that I asked, is the county or the city, are they supporting you in any way or shape
They're
or form?
not. Yeah, that
Oh,
was
of course
Yeah,
not.
no.
Yeah.
They rely a lot on just finding grants, finding corporations that are willing to support whatever efforts that they're doing. This is very grassroots. So what you're telling me is that there are organizations out there trying to touch their community, trying to help them. I think that was the biggest takeaway, that like we're not alone
What
in
really
solving this.
hit me, and it was really a moving and emotional moment for me. You know, I'm not a rich person. I'm at a point in my life now. I'm in my late 50s now, and I've finally been able to save a little bit so that I can maybe at some point in time not have to work, like all the time, you know. But I had times in my life where I had to deal with addiction with my second husband. He became a heroin addict. This was in the early days of OxyContin, and he became an OxyContin addict, and then that progressed into a full-fledged heroin addiction. And I'm working because the medical bills are high, and he had medical problems, and I had 3 kids, and you know, all of a sudden I get home one day and the power's out and the rent hasn't been paid for 2 months and my bank account is wiped out and my kid's piggy bank has been robbed.
Yikes.
And I come to that moment where it's like, where have I been and what do I do now? And I was very lucky that I had people that helped. And then sometimes it was like, here's $20, or here, I'll cover this for you. I had a friend who said, I'll put it on my credit card, because they weren't rich either. But
Yeah, that's a good friend.
yeah, and thank God I had a good paying job, and I was able to, kind of, I had to kick him out because you gotta focus on what you gotta focus on,
Yeah.
and it was my kids, and it gave me an opportunity to, get back on level ground and move forward. But that sets you back a long time.
I think we've come very far in Miami when it comes to organizations really mobilizing to help the public.
No, this day was just,
Yeah.
it was incredible. But what really moved me the most was as I was coming back towards the end of and we went door to door. It was amazing. I mean, I met people that were, that these are humble homes, but they're their homes. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we have any right to put that down, because we do what we can with what we have.
Yeah.
But when I'm coming back into the garden, and there are these 3 ladies walking out, and there's one lady, and it struck me because her smile was kind of crooked. She was missing teeth on top and on the bottom, and she had this big smile. And they're coming out with food containers, and she's talking, and she says to her, can you believe they had sandwiches and hot food, and it was good? And look at all the food we get to take home.
Yeah, we were letting everybody in the community know that
Well,
there was hot food being available
so-
free for them to come get.
And she says, we can eat for 3 days on this. And the other one who was serious, she smiled at her. She says, we don't get paid for a few days. We didn't know what we were going to do this week. We'll eat all week off of this. And the reality of that,
It hits, yeah.
Yeah.
it hits. And I was like, man, this was such a simple act, and yet it made such a difference for these people. And remember what I said, she wasn't getting paid. She's working.
Yeah,
These are
that is
working
wild.
poor.
That is wild, yeah.
And she probably gets on a bus and rides for 2 hours to get to a job where they treat her like shit so that she can go home and provide for her family the best she can. And I respect that.
I mean, these organizations, they're heroes, man. You
They
gotta respect them.
That's exactly
what
what
they
I
do,
mean. I
'cause
feel like-
the city's not doing shit
Yeah.
about it. And honestly, like, those people, eventually, if they're not taken care of, they become everybody's problem.
They do.
It's something that no one wants
that's
to
what's
take care of.
happening. That's exactly what's happening in those neighborhoods, because as their homes are disappearing and the rents are, they can't afford to live there. And there isn't a mechanism to keep them in homes.
So going back to the chronically displaced is what they're called, chronically
well, the
homeless.
chronically shelter-resistant homeless are not the folks that are losing their homes because
Right,
they
they
can't
have
afford
no
the rent.
they have no home.
Right. These are folks that are on the street, that have been on the street for a while, that don't want to go into shelters or refuse treatment. And from what I've learned, because I've been reading, I've been talking to people, I've been looking at the statements that other organizations are putting out, organizations that work with the homeless, and they all say the same thing. the right way to treat them is in place. Because as the two homeless ladies that spoke at City Commission stated, and
There were 2 homeless ladies, by the way, that lived in Peacock
Yeah,
Park.
that just hit me. I was like, they actually showed up
They
to
there.
the commission?
Oh, yeah.
They represent the Homeless Alliance.
very
Get
articulate.
it, girl. Okay.
But these 2 women are homeless, and they live in a community of about 15 people in Peacock Park, and they watch out for each other. And I know this to be true because I hired a homeless man who wanted to get off the street. I used to have a shop over on 27th Avenue near US 1. And he was always clean, and he was very charming. And in fact, the whole thing with him working for us, I said, I'll pay you, and I paid him regular wages like everyone else, and I paid decent wages. There's none of
Short
that.
people, yeah.
I don't believe in that. These are my staff is my asset. Without them, I am nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was awesome. He was phenomenal. And you come to learn more about this guy, and you find out that he had his own business, his successful business, and alcohol threw him off track, and his partner died, and his world fell apart. And he just ended up on the street. Unfortunately, he was an angry drunk. Walter Martin Jr., wherever you are, we miss you, man. But an intelligent man. The women loved him. The old ladies would come by and be like, "Oh, Mr. Walter." I mean, he got tipped.
The homeless man had the sauce.
He did.
Nice.
All these ladies would come by and they would bring him but the thing was, you got to stay sober. And, unfortunately, he didn't want to treat the addiction, and we tried to help him do that. And he was refusing. But he would come to work every day, and he would show up until the alcohol started
He
again.
keep our place spotless, man. Spotless.
He was
great.
He was great. I've often said, he's my. I wish if he could just stay sober, man. I would have made him. I would have let him manage my place.
So what was the input, I'm curious, that these 2 homeless women had to the commission?
They said, I'll paraphrase it. The one lady was hilarious. She says, this Virginia thing. We're adults. What is this with no drinking, no drugs, no alcohol? You empty out your what did she call it? Their
wineries and tobaccos.
And your tobacco, because we drink. We do drugs. We do hard drugs.
Because the idea is that the site that's being proposed is supposed to be a dry zone.
Right.
There is no drugs, liquor, none of that is going to be allowed inside the homeless encampment.
Right,
So,
and this would be wherever they decide to put this. If they decide to take it off Virginia, can't put it somewhere else. There seems to be a real push towards it being in tiny homes. We're in a housing crisis in Miami. We don't have land. And we're going to be warehousing people in sheds.
I think that might be part of the reason. I haven't really looked at I'm talking out of my ass right now, but I think that might be part of the reason why they're choosing that location is because there's no land.
There's no
in
land.
Miami, so they're just like, let's just throw them out there.
But there is vacant land.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Where?
I don't know about that.
They actually had a list of, I think, about 7 different locations, and some of them were included in that presentation. And from what I'm told, the preferred location was around 77th and 2nd or something like that. So it wasn't in Miss King's district, but
We have the PowerPoint up on our website, so this is now readily available to just about anybody that wants to.
And what's the website?
It's vkoc.net/SaveVirginiaKey.
So what are some of the downfalls that this brings? I mean, I know there's many, but
it is. But let's finish talking about what the folks that work with the homeless say should be done, and
Go
that's to treat them in place so that they can become stable. They create these communities and they support each other. So there's protection in a group. So there are these small clusters of homelessness that folks that stay together. The problems in the past that folks give them tents and they set up on sidewalks and then you can't use your sidewalk, which is also a problem because if you're older, if you've got a child in a stroller, you shouldn't have to go on the street and you shouldn't have to walk on top of everybody, urinating and defecating. It's unhealthy. It's unsanitary. But the way that they say is best and the best results they get is by treating them in place, helping them become stable, and then moving them into shelters. And then from the shelters, getting them into treatment. And from the treatment, helping them socialize and join community and become involved again in day-to-day life. And you got to accept that some of these folks will never be able to do that, and we'll have to support them. But we can help support people that can't take care of themselves without having to inter them in an isolated camp.
During the commission meeting, they referred to the amount of money that the homeless trust was receiving quite often.
Yeah.
So
And they even alluded to, we don't have to we fund them. We don't have to fund them.
yeah.
So you're looking to defund the homeless trust?
So
I mean, if you have a problem with the way they do things, and address the problem with the way they do things. But what makes you think that you know how to do it better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So originally they said no. This doesn't pass. Cool. Awesome. We leave. We figured.
So they shut down the proposal to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we figured, okay, we can leave now, right? Like, it's done. It's probably going to come back later.
Well, I gave an interview to WLRN, and outside, I believe the girl's name is Allie, and she says, well, how do you feel now that this is over? And I said, it's not over. This is coming back.
Well, we didn't think it was going to happen the night of.
Yeah. We didn't think it would, an hour and a half later it'd be back.
Wait, so what happened?
So let's say an hour passes.
It was about an hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah, they break for a recess. So everybody leaves. Everybody goes wherever they have to go, back into their office, the bathroom, whatever happens. And they come back. They get through some PZ agenda. They approve some stuff. And then Alex Diaz de la Portilla goes, I wanna come back with a discussion item about the transitional zone.
I want to reconsider it.
Yeah, I want to reconsider.
I wanted something. He said something about something passing.
Yeah. He wants to bring it up again as a discussion item to then to direct the city to come back sometime in September for additional areas. Which
I wonder what changed
so
during
that
the
wouldn't have been a
recess.
problem.
That's a good question.
That wouldn't have been a problem. However, Joe Carollo then sneaks in and says, "We're voting yes to approve the pilot program, right?"
On Virginia Key.
Do you think there's incentive, political wise?
I wish we had a crystal ball.
What does it sound like to you?
I mean, it's no secret that the ties between commissioners and politicians here and developers are,
Yeah.
Tight?
tight. So who's
So
to
Manolo
say?
Reyes was the one that caught that. He caught that on the dais, and he was like, "Whoa, wait! You're being sneaky. You're doing this." And Joe Carollo says, "It doesn't matter what you say.
I love
we're already
watching the
voting."
videos of those commission meetings because it looks like an episode of Bad Girls Club. Like they're just out there
I'm
yelling.
sorry,
at
that's
each other.
embarrassing. But that's embarrassing.
If
And
that's
you
how
know
you get
what?
people to watch,
No,
that's how you get
hold
people to
on.
watch.
I'm going to go out on a limb because they're going to kick me out. You know that, right? They're going to kick me out. They're going to find a way to kick me out. They're going to find a way to say that, well, everything here is illegal. Everything's horrible.
Which they already have.
Yeah, he's already said that. But, I have nothing to lose here and everything to gain because this is my city. My taxes built this park.
100%.
My blood, my sweat, and my tears built this park. And everybody else that came here, this isn't a me issue. I'm just too stupid to know when to back off.
So what ends up happening is you have Alex Diaz de la Portilla, you have Joe Carollo, and Christine King vote yes. And you still have Manolo Reyes and Ken Russell vote no. So it passes. They approve the pilot program for the Virginia Key parcel. And then they also agree that the second meeting in September, the city is supposed to be coming back to present additional sites and how much this is going to cost them.
No, in addition to, not in place of.
Yeah.
So they're not stopping at North Point. They're
Right.
going to continue.
And then there was some
Yeah.
comment about how the little houses in 6 months. So something's going on with little houses that has to happen in 6 months. But there's no funding. So they're going to have to find funding. But they're going into their budgetary meetings now when they come back in September. I imagine they're going to find funding somewhere. The problem is that there is no sewer service. And the city was getting ready to spend a couple $1 million to put in bathrooms and lifeguard offices at the beach at North Point.
Okay.
Okay, this is not where I am. This is the road forks, and if you go to the right, you go to the beach. If you go to the left, you go to the lagoon where we are. It's
Okay.
close.
By
It's
the
like
way,
a-
we found out
like a
all of
2-minute
this at
walk.
like 8:30 p.m. Right after we had told our staff, like, y'all are good. We're all good for now. And then I had to send a message again and be like, guys, we need to do a staff meeting tomorrow because we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I had questions like, do I still have a job? Do I still go to work? And yeah, you still have a job. For how long?
I don't know.
We don't know.
So how do I tell these people that religiously show up and work that we're going into an economic downturn?
Yeah, it's fucked up.
I got 17 employees.
It's fucked up.
None of them make less than an average blended rate of $25 an hour between tips and pay. Okay? They rely on this for their livelihood, and I have to tell them that I don't know that I can't guarantee their employment any longer, and I'll cover them as long as I can. But I can't do it forever.
So that happened, and the next day, you have all the media buzzing, like, what do you mean they actually approved this? A lot of people didn't know that it even passed.
No, the Herald was writing a story, and I'm kind of upset with the Herald because the one thing they quoted me on was a statement I made about, I said, let's look at the extreme here. You got a bunch of homeless men and a bunch of little girls in bikinis at the beach. but it's true.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that every homeless person is a sex offender. But how do we know they're not sex offenders?
I just feel like there's so much wooded area that something is open.
There's acres of wooded area.
Yeah.
We had a brush fire. I think it was 2015 or 2016, and the fire department had a hard time getting into the trails. We have sensitive habitat in that area. Let's say that the program works for the sake of argument, and you bring people in, okay, and you have this fenced off area with 24/7 security and mobile services, the most expensive and least efficient. And you even have extra police, overtime police that are running around. And, you have folks that voluntarily stay in the program because what Commissioner Carollo said was happening was that they would bring them in once they get released from county jail. Mm-hmm. And what Commissioner Russell said was that usually this happens in some late hour and that they would be taken out there and gone. Would go through an intake process.
Yeah, the chief of police showed up to the commission meeting, and he was saying all these numbers.
Hundreds of people every month.
And what the county and the city have been coordinating is the time that these individuals are released in City of Miami limits.
Did they say that?
Yes.
Okay. I missed that.
So the county and the city are coordinating. Now, they don't always have officers readily available to assist these individuals.
But that's really sad. I mean, why would you release someone in the middle of the night?
So now the question comes, now you have a place where you can safely release them.
Shouldn't you be releasing them before the shelters get full so that they can get in there?
Yeah.
That's something to ask the county and the city police.
I don't get it. Why are we not building more shelters? Why aren't we buying older hotels and converting them into homes?
Well, I don't think it's a priority for them, at least.
It's not a priority, but the cost will be less. Listen, I was telling you, these bathrooms on the beach, they had to put in like some composting toilets. I'm not sure what the final design was because there's no sewer service back there, which makes my facility more desirable because I have a septic tank, even though it's insufficient for even our needs.
Oh.
I have power and I have water.
There you go.
So I'm in their way.
There you go.
But it's not enough to,
Right, but it's a step.
Those containers are sinking into the ground because the ground can't support the weight of trailers.
So with that being said, tell me a little bit more of what you know about those tiny homes, if anything.
You know what I know right now.
We know as much as the public right now.
There's something about 6 months. They're going to start with 50 to 100 of them. People are like, oh, hurricanes. Well, if it's a hurricane, they'll evacuate them. I mean, that's
so they made a point to stress this during the commission meeting that these are temporary. So these could be moved anywhere in city limits.
Yeah, but just because something is mobile, that doesn't mean that you can readily move them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes. You got to prepare. It's not just pick up and.
It takes us 2 days to pack our stuff. And we have to do it several times a year whenever there's like a.
And how many miles out are you guys from mainland?
2 miles from the road.
From the road.
From the road.
From the causeway. Yeah.
From the mainland, it's about another maybe 2.5. I would say from the mainland about another 2.5 miles.
If you want to reach the Publix inside like Brickell, it's about 6.5, almost 7 miles. That's the closest grocery store.
No grocery stores, no pharmacies. So everything would have to be brought in.
So let's get into that. Aside from your employees losing their livelihoods, aside from housing homeless people there that could have a history of mental illness or sex offending or whatever, what are some other pain points that would bring?
So let's say that for the sake of argument that the project moves forward and it works and people are actually using it, and that the homeless ladies that were there saying that they won't go there or wrong and people want to stay. And let's say that all the medical services for people kicking drugs, they're in withdrawal. That's a dangerous time. Let's say that the services are there for them. It doesn't account for the other people that get dropped off that don't want to stay in the program. And that island, Trinidad and Jimbo's, had a large residential problem, and which is one of the reasons that the city of Miami pushed to shut it down.
By the way, nobody lives on Virginia Key.
No.
Nobody. It's mostly, if not all, commercial. Nobody lives on Virginia. It is not
zero residents.
Zero.
You do not have the manatees balling out. You got nothing of that. There are nobody is living on Virginia Key. The closest area is Key Biscayne, but you got a bridge and you have a park. And
Well,
then
I
Key Biscayne.
actually, I
That's
wonder.
gonna be tremendous out there.
I think
if they
actually
do
the
do that.
roads may be even closer.
Maybe, yeah.
But regardless, look, you got folks out there that are going to be refusing services that are going to end up, in the middle of the night. Where are they going to go?
Yeah, they're just
They're
out
going
there
to go into the
wandering
woods.
around.
So then what happens? You set up a fire because it's one of those winter days that it's a little chilly, or because you want to cook something, and the next thing you know, they're burning down the entire forest.
My biggest problem is that they're spreading a lot of misinformation.
But it's not even about the homeless people. Unfortunately, this is the most vulnerable segment of the homeless population, and there are people that are going to come in there to prey on them. And those are the people that we have to, I think, worry about the most. The drug dealers.
I see what you mean.
The drug dealers that are going in there, the people that are going in there just to steal from them. And if there's something I learned from Walter Martin Jr. is that homeless people get robbed a lot. He ended up in the hospital a few times when he was on the street, and he ended up somewhere in Broward in some program. And we lost track of him because his phone was stolen often, so we'd have to get a new number. But he ended up at a program in Broward where he had some residential living. So I hope that he was able to.
I think where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. I think if drug dealers really wanted to come and sell whatever they had to sell, they would, knowing that they had consistent.
They totally
clientele
would.
or
There's so
something
many
like
places
that.
to
Yeah.
hide. So many places to hide.
And hurricanes a big issue out there as well. I mean, recently we haven't had any, thank God. But what if you get one of those hurricane seasons where we have 8 threats? You're going to
like we
be
did at the beginning of the
mobilizing 8 times. The
city
what's
has
the
not
plan?
presented any plans on what they're going to do.
Because they have no idea what the fuck they're
no,
doing.
you
Yeah.
see, I wouldn't. I would think I think that's not a strong argument because they would just take them to shelters. But then everything gets left behind.
Yeah, you
Because
lose
you
the little
don't-
homes.
If you're going to mobilize the resources necessary to move 50 to 100 tiny homes, let's assume that they have a bathhouse and not each one of them with their own facilities. Because
Which will probably be the case, I would assume.
well, if they have their own facilities, it's not easy to disconnect.
Yeah.
But let's say that you have to leave everything behind, so that investment is going to be gone because those are not, even if they're category 1 or 2 resistant. It's you get a stronger storm, then that's all gone.
By
And
the
then
way,
these
they
people-
closed us down in 2016, 2015 with Hurricane
with Irma. Oh
Yeah.
my God, we were closed down for months with
Yeah.
Irma because
They ended up using the site as,
we've
what do
had
you call that?
challenges. We've had
a
2
mulching
years
facility?
worth of disruptions since we were there.
Wow.
If you look up Virginia Key Hurricane Irma, you're going to see a Miami News Time article with a picture
You're going to
of
see a lot of articles.
like a mound of trash, literally right where they're proposing this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that was a really fun story because you see the city was allowing the boat show to store its docks in the old mulching facility behind the sewer plant, and
Which has now been rezoned to a park.
yes, that's a trade-off for the Mel Reese deal. So that sewer sludge drying field is next to what is now a few acres worth of new parkland.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, win-win. And so when Irma came through, that's where they would put that was the area designated for hurricane debris, but they couldn't use it because it's full of boat docks. So they put it in the field in the middle of the park.
Where the proposed site is happening.
You would come down the road, and
That's
as you
the
turn,
proposed site.
Yeah.
dude, it was like this. It was heartbreaking, and it wasn't just like tree debris. There
It was
were
mattresses,
there were
toilets.
mattresses, there were paint container, materials that shouldn't even have been there. And as it turned out, the city of Miami was dumping there without a permit to dump there. So they had to move it because they gave me the paperwork, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the GPS coordinates I'm like, that's close, but that's not there. What they had a permit for was for the mulching facility because that was designated as a place to put debris, not mixed debris, tree debris.
Right.
So they've been pushing that Christine King has been pushing that this proposed land area has not been used in 10 years.
Oh,
That's a lie.
Yeah,
We've been here.
hold
The
on.
bicycle trails are
Well,
I'm
there.
going to give her.
they'll
I'm
say
going to
what
give her a
they have
pass.
to say
I'm going to
in
give her a
order to-
pass.
Yeah.
I think she was told that land hasn't been used in 10 years.
Well, whoever's talking to them is lying to them, is giving them bad information.
Okay, bad information and lying are 2 different things.
I don't know about that.
Because I think what happens is that you get folks that sit in an office and look at an aerial or a map, and they look at reports.
Yeah,
and,
they haven't
and
even
that's
gone
it.
out there.
They don't bother going out
They
there.
have no idea.
Which is what kind of Alex de la Portilla insinuated. Did
no,
you
he didn't
go out
insinuate
there?
it. He said it. He said,
Yeah.
Look.
Did you go out there? But the reason she said that comment, and it got a lot of people pissed off with every right. Because we've been there since 2015. The bicycle club has been there for
12 years?
12 years.
Yeah, it's like, lady, you have no idea what the fuck you're
So
talking
on
about.
Saturday,
12 years of 100% volunteer work. They invest, they fundraise, they've gotten grants,
Yeah.
they've built this amazing bike trail. You can hike it.
So
you
on
always want to be
Saturday-
careful because it's a
yeah.
mountain bike trail. It's not flat land.
on Saturday, you're having South Florida Paddlers, which is a community group. They're organizing a paddle out in protest of all of this. The Virginia Key Bicycle Club is hosting a group ride through Freebird, which is a beginner entry level trail. So you have these two events going on, and you have the South Florida slacklining community that is happening from 1 p.m. to sundown, where they're even coming with a drum circle. So you have all these
So the
communities.
area is constantly used.
Yeah, so
Constantly.
you have all these communities now. They're like, lady, what are you talking about? We're going to show up now.
So come out,
So why don't
and
we
you don't
get,
even
why
have to,
don't we
you don't
get
even have to
these,
spend money. Just come out. You can go to the beach, hang out, bring a picnic.
Yeah.
why don't we get all these people that use that area to show up at the commission and make a ruckus?
That's the idea that's going to
That's
happen.
the idea. And it sounds great in theory, but then in practice, remember what we told you, we were there from 9 till 6. People have jobs, people have families, people have children, and
Well,
it's not convenient.
A specific day, people can make the time for 1 hour, one day.
It's not an hour.
It's not an
It's
hour.
not an hour. You're going to be there all day. And
We
if
were
they-
there from 9 to 6 p.m.
before the item.
They
was even
set the agenda at the beginning of every commission meeting on what they're going to deal with. And what they sometimes do is that they, very hot discussion items, they'll leave it for the end of the day.
it depends on their,
Yeah, it depends on their order and what they want to do.
Probably want people to get tired out and leave type of thing. Don't even get
Pretty
involved.
much, yeah. But the Friday after the commission meeting, you had the media come on site because they're like, this is a site. There's an outdoor center, there's a bicycle club, there's kids playing in the field.
And we haven't even touched on the ecological significance and the economic impact of this island.
So you had
So-
all these politicians finally show up on Friday. And you even had Joe Carollo showed up at the end of the day on site. And he basically told the cameras that, what was it, that it's illegal. A lot of things here are illegally done.
Everything's
It's
done wrong.
dangerous. There's people that have died here.
A guy had a heart attack, another one had a stroke.
So he's painting the whole, of course, to
But
fit
but
his,
did he do that by design or because he was given, junk information? I don't know.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Let's circle back to what you said about the ecology and the economy.
People are coming here. They're going to us, and they're extending their visit to stay.
Instead of going to the Keys, instead of going out to, mostly to the Keys, they're staying here longer.
You know how many people that are like the whole van life people that come
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
Colorado?
yeah.
They're coming here with their mountain bikes to ride our trails, to ride the mountain bike club's
So
trail.
they come out, they ride the trails, they go out and kayak. In the winter, we're loaded with manatees now. And I always say it's not because of what we did, but because of what we didn't do.
If you look us up on Google Maps and you go over our lagoon, you can count 40 manatees.
Wow.
You can just count them right there. When they do the surveys, they count. And
It's
there's
a
been lot.
nursery. They have their babies there.
And they're endangered now, right? They're dying out.
They're about to be placed
'Cause
back
of
on the
the
endangered
They're
lack
about
of
to go back
seagrass,
on,
right?
Right. Now, the seagrasses around the entire area are protected because of the seagrass die-off that we're facing in the state. And we have healthy grass beds, so we get all this wildlife that comes in. We support our fisheries by creating habitat for all of the bait fish that come in. That means that the fish that go on your table are bigger and healthier. The prices are better. The fishermen do better. The tournament people do better because there's better bait. We are supporting that feeding cycle, that food chain in nature by not harassing it.
I think economically too, you have Uber drivers that are dropping off residents. We're helping people too in general. Just come out and support.
Just look at the hotel and restaurant, and there's always someone wanted to build a whole restaurant and bar complex and make it Jimbo's 2.0. And I mean, there's a constant litany of what's next. It's a park, for God's sake. Can we just stop trying to shove everything possible into this little
Because
space?
people just want to capitalize. That's all it is. They don't
and
care.
you know, and you hear it's this 1,000-acre island. Yeah, but this is only a few acres, and it's in the most environmentally sensitive area. Miami Waterkeepers, Frost through their MOVE program, Hands on Miami, Debris-Free Oceans, Volunteer Cleanup, ourselves, our community
All these
partners,
organizations
Citizens for Better
make
South
this
Florida.
park the way it is, to be honest.
So having the homeless community there essentially could present a risk to the economy in that area and the ecology
Absolutely.
in that area.
And here we are going into an economic downfall, and we're going to stress out an economic engine. What'll end up happening is, in my opinion, we're creating a dangerous condition because we're bringing in all of these inconsistent uses into an area that has sensitivities. And you're going to alienate the public.
I think at the end of the day, the homeless people deserve better. They don't deserve to be on an island 2 miles away from the nearest bus stop. Yeah. So out of sight, out of mind, to be honest.
So do we have an alternative proposal at this moment in time that we...
There are also some other issues that might come in. They were looking at reverter clauses because a lot of that land came from the county, and they have to be used for parkland. But if they try to come in and say, oh, it's an emergency, it's not an emergency.
But as far
a hurricane
as
is an emergency. This is a crisis decades in the making. And actually, and I found this surprising because we're seeing more homeless people on the street. And what Ken Russell spoke about, and quite eloquently, I have to add, was that what's happened is that the city has fenced off its overpass, and its parking lots where the homeless were staying at night. And so they have had to go out into the neighborhoods.
Wow.
The businesses downtown.
I have seen so many homeless people lately, and I
Yeah,
remember
because
hearing
they don't
Francis
have a
Suarez
place to
talking
hide.
about, we've done so much for the homeless, we barely have any. I'm like, I see
But
more homeless. What are
As
you
a
talking about?
count, the census is there are about 500 chronically homeless people in Miami. I mean, it's a big number, but if you think our population is
and the
over
ratio-
400,000,
right, the ratio-wise, it's not that
it's not that high, and that's a manageable number.
To be honest, like as far
It's
as
not
a
terrible.
solution for the homeless, the proposed sites, the city is supposed to be getting back to the general public and the commissions. Well, the general public,
Yeah,
hopefully.
but there was a site included, the one on the one on I think it was something.
I don't think we're saying we're homeless experts and we know what's the preferred site, but what we can all agree on is that Virginia Key is not the optimal site.
It's not good for the homeless. It's not good for the working people
I think
of
it's
Miami.
And
dangerous
it's
for
not
them.
good for
It's
the,
not
for the
good
Miami
for our
residents.
economy.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, this is fiscally, this is unsound. The cost of creating the infrastructure is astronomical. They had to bring in the sewer lines from the Rickenbacker. 2 miles of sewer lines. I know that the Parks Department was trying to talk to WASDA, the Water and Sewer Department, about trying to find another shortcut, but those are all gravity-fed lines, and at that point, that's what they had said. I don't know if they came up with another option, but that's ungodly expensive.
Yeah.
I just think we
So-
all deserve better.
We are,
We
and
all
you know,
deserve
and as
better.
a taxpayer, why are we getting into a situation where we're going to end up back with the Pottinger Agreement, with the Pottinger litigation? Do you know about that?
No, I was just going to ask.
So Pottinger was a lawsuit. I think the ACLU brought it because the city of Miami was arresting people for being homeless and then destroying all their property.
What year was this?
Oh my God! They just went. They got out from the Pottinger Agreement just, I think, maybe a year or two ago. But this goes back quite a while. I'd have to look up the date.
Probably like 70s or something.
No.
before that.
I think a lot closer. It was under Carollo's administration.
Really?
Yeah.
So like 90s probably.
Yeah. But have we not learned a lesson that if we treat people with dignity and ethically, we can do good things?
I don't think it's about that. And it's sad. I think it's about just making a quick turnaround, a quick buck, you know what I mean? The long vision, usually for the people in power, they don't really care. It's just whatever
sad.
kind of, and that, it is sad.
I want to
People
know
like that
what
shouldn't be
happened.
elected.
I want to know what happened during the recess. What caused
Yeah,
Alex de
something-
la Portilla to
something
change his
flipped,
mind?
Yeah.
How do you go from
This is a terrible
this is
idea
a terrible
to like,
this
all
is
right.
terrible presentation. You didn't bring us anything. You didn't go out there. This doesn't work. And he even said at one point there may be room in my district for it. You know what? There's room in my district for it because we have a bunch of halfway houses. I live in Shenandoah, which is a really nice neighborhood. And if somebody were to say to me that on 27th Avenue, a block away from my house, they would take one of those office buildings and convert it to housing because there are homeless people there now, I wouldn't be offended by it. They're already living there. All we're doing is providing.
Rather than have them out on the street, have them in a better organized place.
Yeah, we have halfway houses in our neighborhood, a number of them. These are places for, assisted living facilities for folks with different types of conditions. So at one point we had a panhandling problem and it was addressed, but they're still there. So it can be done.
So before we close out, what is the call to action? What can we request people to do to get involved to shake this up and
call the commissioners, demand that they stop this? Then I would go as far as to say that they stop the program altogether, because if we remove this program only from Virginia Key, we still have this horrible isolation of folks. Maybe we buy one of those sex hotels on 8th Street and that have seriously, there's like this place that has, they have, what is it, robot dolls?
get the fuck out?
Can't make it up. Apparently that's a good business to have in the area, in a residential area.
Wild.
But let's be creative and let's maximize our dollars. Let's work on helping the people of Miami that can't afford their rent. We have a rent crisis. Let's address that. Let's keep people from being homeless.
What viewers could do is they can go to vkoc.net/SaveVirginiaKey, and there you'll have access to the timeline. You'll have access to the PowerPoint and an ongoing petition that has over 12,000 people have signed this petition to protect Virginia Key North Point Park. It also has the contact information on all the commissioners, even the ones that voted yes, and it has the contact information on the mayor. We don't know yet if Francis Suarez can veto this.
Right.
At this point, we're just asking for help. If he could veto this, awesome.
You know what would be a good idea? And I've seen Miami Waterkeeper do it. Whenever there's an issue that they want people to speak on, they have like a pre-filled out form type of thing where you just kind of like, because people, like if they have to do a long thing, they probably won't do it.
Yeah.
Like a script.
It's like, yeah, and it's all you got to do is put in your name and it sends it to
But you know what happens with the script? And I've seen them do it all the time. They're like, oh, it's just everybody saying the same thing over and over again. That doesn't count.
Well, but it's people's name. But
they don't.
It's a signature.
But they dismiss it. They dismiss it as
I've seen it dismissed.
Use your own
times,
words.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with using your own words. People have been super vocal. We're getting so many emails, and we should print them out and send them over.
You should.
Yeah. And those are people that
Absolutely.
live in the city of Miami. This isn't. This is not like the billionaire row. This is Miami working man's island.
Honestly, what we've asked people to do is, if you go to the park, take a picture.
Yeah.
Take a picture of you enjoying the park and tag all the commissioners that said that they wanted this to
It's a
happen
great
inside.
idea.
Here I am with my
Yeah.
family. I mean, some people started doing that on their own. I've never seen so many different aspects of a city come together in opposition of something.
We were talking about that on the way here. It feels nice. It doesn't feel like we're shouting into the void and everybody's like quiet.
That's awesome. Oh, there's
Yeah.
love.
I'm
There's love
not
for
on
the site.
Twitter typing away some madness. It's
There's
yeah.
love for the site, and it's reflecting with the community.
Yeah, but there's also regard for the folks that are not getting service through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
So
is important. Which is
it's
important.
good to see. And no one is saying don't take care of the homeless.
No,
No one.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no one is saying not in my backyard. This is everybody's backyard.
Everybody uses Virginia Key
So-
North Point Park.
So, and it was so important, especially like right after COVID when we reopened, and right after Irma too. People come rushing out because it's that place where after you're done working your 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, you come out here and you can disconnect for a few hours, and you can spend a day with the family and spend less than $50. That's if you're renting equipment, or you could just go to the beach and take dollars parking to the city.
You know what we did post-COVID? Well, we're still in COVID.
Yeah, we're still in COVID.
Post-lockdown, I guess.
Yeah.
We allowed first responders and healthcare workers to rent for free
Yeah,
for the whole month.
That's
Not the whole
awesome.
month, the
Good
whole
for you.
summer.
and they came because
Yeah.
it's this place where you just you can disconnect.
Nah, they need to relax.
Yeah.
Well, refresh, and you go back at the grind on Monday and start all over.
And
again.
even for Teacher Appreciation Month in May, all teachers in Miami-Dade County, they were renting for free for 1 hour. And these are things that, to be honest, like, we don't
Well,
have to
anyway,
do. We
I'm
do it because
gonna-
we love the community.
I'm gonna give Diana. She's gonna get embarrassed. We did an event. We got funding from Latin Conservation Fund, and they gave her an award for her participation in the Latin community and
Get it,
bringing
girl.
people to the outdoors.
You guys are doing good work, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
the community will turn out. And
I hope we'll be able to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you gotta have
I'm
faith.
committed
You gotta
to
have faith, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed to it, but I get emotional because
No,
it sucks.
it's your
It
work.
sucks.
livelihood.
It's your work, yeah.
And when people get upset because they're like, "Oh, she said this or she said that," you came after my livelihood.
100%.
What do you want
and
me
you
to do?
defend your livelihood with
And I'm not only defending my livelihood, I'm defending my people. And I'm defending my city, and I'm defending everyone that comes into that park. Because I have a big mouth and I have nothing to lose.
get a girl.
Yeah. I say I'm just a dumb girl. What do I know?
Nah. Ladies, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining.
for having us.
Thank you for your time
Appreciate
and
it.
your knowledge. We're going to do something about this.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. As always, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And that's all I got, the time we got for today. And as always, no se metan con nadie para que nadie se las meta. See you guys.